Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 18th meeting of the City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. Anyone in the audience who is recording? I doubt it, but okay, seeing none. Councillor Boschman, would you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
Be an honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
President Zarella.
Here.
Councillor Boschman.
Right here.
Councillor Kuchar.
Here.
Councillor Di Natale.
Here remote.
Councillor Fleming.
Here remote.
Councillor Green. Here. Councillor Hughes.
Here.
Councillor Schultz.
Here remotely.
Councillor Squalia.
Present.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Here.
Councillor Walsh. Here.
Thank you very much. The public has been advised to contact the clerk's office by noon today regarding any comments of no more than 2 minutes. None have been brought to our attention. So we will now hear a report from the Appointments Committee. Councillor Kuchar.
Thank you, President Zarella. A meeting of the Appointments Committee was held earlier today at the Legislative Building at 700 Main Street, Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Committee members present were myself, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Green, Councillor Di Natale virtually, and Councillor Fleming virtually. We took up numerous appointments. I'll take them one at a time. Reappointment to the Fitchburg Historical Commission, Mr. Samuel Blair, Mr. Keith Chernot, Ms. Ellen DiGeronimo, Mr. Donald Orlowski, and Mr. Charles Sternamolo, all of which were accepted. Also, new appointments to a special police officer for the city of Fitchburg, retired detective James M. Gilbert, which was unanimously approved. And also Board of Trustees to the Public Library, Mr. Eric Mabunwe, which was approved.
Matters before the council.
Move to approve the report.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the recommendations of the Appointments Committee. If there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, motion carries. Now we will hear a report from the Committee on Records. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, our record seems to be in order. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Make a
Council-
motion we accept.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second to accept the report of the Committee on Records. If there is no objection, we will take this by unanimous consent. Seeing none, motion carries. Report from the Finance Committee. Councillor Di Natale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance met on May 11th and took up 3 orders. 8421 was for $5,193. A grant from Mass DOT Aeronautics Division to repair the S2 security system at the Airport Administrative Building. 8521 was an order to approve expenditure of funds from the Community Foundation of North Central Massachusetts Environmental Preservation and Animal Welfare Grant for $9,000 to complete trail maintenance and parking lot expansions at Cogswell Park. And 8621 was an order that they're being hereby is transferred $40,500 from reserve for other municipal purposes, capital expenses, and credited to Parks Capital, Parks and Playground capital expense for the renovation of Billy Mundy Field at Park Hill Park. All orders were adopted unanimously.
Matter stands before the council.
Motion to approve.
Accept.
On the motion.
I have a motion and second to approve. Speaking on the motion, Councillor Boschman.
On the motion, I just want to say I'm voting for everything, but I want to let the council know on 086-21, I brought it up last Tuesday, and I'm going to talk about it again for a minute. We're investing as a city over $700,000 in the playground up there in Park Hill, with the handicap parking space coming in and everything else. Now, I brought up the fact of the matter that we have a problem with litter throughout our parks. and I'm not putting the city down, but throughout our parks, we have a problem with litter. Now, it's not like the rubbish barrels are 14 miles away. They're right at the entranceway. Now, in my ward, we're very clean people. We're very clean, and we're very proud. We don't have a lot, but we're very proud. With this kind of money coming in, and we're going to be bringing in people throughout the state to come down to this park, I think we, as a council, we should start setting some rules of what we expect from the public. I really believe that. I believe that it's a shame when I go up there and take a walk and there's an 80-year-old man picking up trash. We're not training the younger generation. The younger generation are training us. There's something wrong with the picture. And that's why I brought it up. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me voice my opinion. But I'm in favor of everything. But I just want you to know there's going to be over $750,000 invested in it between the DPW, the $40,000 here, the CBG funds, and the St. Pollock Handicap Park, which they work very hard, and with the city's help and the administration's help, they get grants for it. Over $750,000, and it's a beautiful park, and I'm very excited and very, very happy. So, as a council, we should start really sitting down and start talking about this issue as a whole, to all the parks, because I think Councilor Squaria can testify of Beer Brown when she had the cleanup up there, and she spent 4 hours or 5 hours up in that park. So there's a problem in our parks, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the motion?
I make a motion, we accept.
We have the motion.
Oh, all right.
I have Councilor Di Natale.
Thank you. On that note, I feel it's a fool's errand to do what was suggested, because once again, the problem is persistent throughout the country, everywhere you go, not just in parks. There are barrels everywhere, there's signs everywhere. People will do what they're going to do, and we can talk about it ad nauseum and educate people ad nauseum. There's still going to be people who blatantly and flagrantly flout the laws. And one big example of that was just yesterday morning on Fisher Road in Ward 5, right below a no dumping sign, mind you. Someone dumped a truckload of trash right on the side of the road, under a no dumping sign. I don't think you're going to educate someone like that. So it's just one of those realities we face in the world that is never going to go away, unfortunately. So the rest of us will have to pick up the slack for the utter disregard of other people for the cleanliness of parks and streets. Thank you.
Thank you. If there is no objection, we will pass this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, motion passes. We now have orders finance, 09121, order that there be and hereby is appropriated the sum of $6,875, same to be charged against available funds and credited city council expense ordinance code supplement. 9220, excuse me?
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Make a motion that all orders be sent to Finance Committee.
No motion is necessary, but if there is, if no one objects, we can waive the reading.
Okay, no objection.
Seeing no objection, we will waive the reading, and these are all referred to finance. I will also ask that we waive the reading of the budget orders if there is no objection. Go right ahead, Councilor Walsh.
I just wanted to note for people who are listening that the agenda is posted on, so they can refer to all of these so they know what we're referring.
An excellent reminder, thank you. Anyone who is curious what we're sending to these committees that we're not reading out, it's all online. So I will also ask if there is no objection that we waive the reading of the budget orders and that I get a motion for suspension of the rules to refer them to a council as a whole meeting on May 25th.
So moved.
I have a motion and second for suspension. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Boishman.
Counselor who?
You.
Oh, okay, yes.
Counselor Kuchar.
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale.
You said that was one.
Yes.
Counselor Fleming.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Hughes.
Yes.
Counselor Schultz.
Yes.
Counselor Squalia?
Aye.
Counselor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
And President Zarella?
Yes.
That is unanimous.
Thank you. Orders other, we have a request for suspension of the rules on 10521, order that the City Council authorizes the superintendent to submit the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated June 1st, 2021 for Longsjo Middle School located at 98 Academy Street, Fitchburg, Mass., which describes and explains the following deficiencies and the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future. Windows and boilers, priority number 5. Can I get a motion for suspension on that?
Make it so moved.
I have a motion and second for suspension. Madam Clerk?
Counselor Boishman?
Yes.
Counselor Kuchar?
Yes.
Counselor Di Natale?
Yes.
Counselor Fleming?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Hughes?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Squalia?
Aye.
Counselor Van Hazinga?
Yes.
Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
And President Zarella?
Yes.
That is unanimous.
And Mr. Shalafo, if you would like to come up and present this to the council?
Thank you and good evening, and I appreciate your willingness to suspend the rules for this. I'm here on behalf of the superintendent. It's our annual submission to the Massachusetts School Building Authority for their accelerated repair program. This year, we're focusing specifically on the Longsjo Middle School for replacement of boilers that were installed in 1994 and windows that were installed in 1987.
Question.
Wait a minute. Counselor Green?
While we've got Mr. Shalafo in front of us here, if windows and boilers are priority number 5 for that school, would you mind sharing with us what priorities 1 to 4 were?
So number 5 is simply the priority used through the MSBA system. It's not that there are 4 other higher priorities for us in the city of Fitchburg. It just qualifies under modernization and replacement. That's what the number 5 priority category stands for.
Okay, and in your opinion, moving this forward, are those the most pressing for this, or that's the mandate through the Mass School Building Association that they will do?
Yes, so we have to select a number of one of those top priorities. I believe there's 8 of them. Number 5 fits for replacement, modernization, and it is in our best interest at this time to focus in on the Longsjo Middle School. Our last submission, we did one for basically every school. This year, we want to target specifically on what we consider the highest priority for us in the city, and that would be the windows and boilers at Longsjo.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you very much.
Counselor Boishman?
Hi, how are you? Question for you. If I vote for this tonight, are you and the school committee going to tell me that 5 years down the road, we're thinking about shutting down the Longsjo, and we want to add on to Crocker to make everybody go from K to 8? What's the objective here? Because the last time Councilor Green and I were on the council, and we got a list, and there's a hell of a lot of money, there's a heck of a lot of money that has to be invested at the Longsjo. And we thought, and I'll say it again, I was under the impression that we were shooting for a K to 8 grade at Crocker Elementary. That's what I was led to believe, that when I voted, that was the belief I did. And we were going to close down the Longsjo and put everybody at the Crocker. I don't mind voting for something, but I hate to see something get wasted in 5 years to say, oh, it's outdated, it's old, and we need new paint, we need new, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I just don't like to waste my money, or the taxpayers' money, because I'm not rich.
No, I can appreciate that, and I think we're aware of the iterations that we've gone through with the MSBA core project and their determination that the K-8 school in the Crocker property was going to be too large of a building, and that the cost of that was not going to be enough in the strategic planning. So we were K-4, then we looked at K-8. Now we're looking back to 1 to 5, so those 5th graders that are currently in our middle schools will go to the new Crocker Elementary School if the MSBA passes that on the vote on June 23rd. We're still several years away from the start of that project, if it is improved, so I can see us being in Longsjo Middle School for the foreseeable future. And that will house, we have roughly 1,300 students in grades 6 through 8 that will be split between Memorial Middle School and Longsjo.
Okay. One other question, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, will we get them on here? And since we're talking about schools, my final question is...
Counselor, only if it relates to this.
What's that?
Only if it relates to this matter.
It is relating to schools, because it was...
No, only if it relates to the repairs at Longstrip.
Oh, all right, I'll make it relate to that. My question to you is this: are we going to put in good boilers that are not going to break down, and they're going to be able to heat the top floor, the very end, and they don't have to wear coats and sweaters and that and be cold? And are we going to have a set thermostat rate of, say, 68 degrees and lower, instead of having it in some schools that I've been into 70 plus? And you can't think, and I'm going to tell you honestly, I've been a kid. You get in when it's too warm, your mind goes foggy, and you start falling asleep.
Right.
So this is why I ask these questions.
Right, well, not being an engineer, but I will do my best to answer that question. We will certainly put in the best boilers that the engineers approved for this project at the Long Joe Middle School. Having gone through this recently at the South Street South Building, the engineers came back to us and advised us on what exactly they thought was going to be the best mechanical system for that particular site, and I'm assuming that they'll be doing the same in their modern state-of-the-art condensing boilers. Now, whether that type of boiler is appropriate for Long Joe Middle School, I don't know, and I'll rely on the engineers to provide us with that information. As far as the building controls, again, a new modern system will have building controls that would allow us to moderate that temperature. I think part of the infrastructure at Long Joe, which makes it a much more difficult task, is it's an older infrastructure. It's a steam system. We are having the steam traps replaced again. I think this is the second time in the last 5 years. Hopefully, if the Green Communities grant goes through, and those are all things that help us control the climate. And we know the importance, particularly after coming through the pandemic, of making sure that we have operable windows, and that's why we're targeting the windows at Long Joe and putting in a new heat plant so that we can actually control the climate in that building for our students and our staff.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Thank you. Counselor Schultz.
I think the question's already been answered, Councilor Zarella. Thank you.
No problem. Counselor DiNatale.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify something. The plan was never a K through 8. It was always a K through 4 at a minimum. K through 8 was always a secondary option. 2017, Auditor Brooks testified before the council that the $60 million was for an elementary school, not a middle school and an elementary school. That was a secondary option the city wanted to entertain at MSBA's direction. So Long Joe's not going anywhere. It's not being closed. It was never being discussed as being closed. And we just shelled out over $5 million in that building in the last 4 years, and now we're going to do this. So we're trying to modernize it as best we can, but I just wanted to clarify. There was never the intention of having that be a K through 8 as a primary focus. It was always a secondary focus, and Long Joe is not going anywhere. Thank you. And I might add, I'm sorry, that we had a presentation several weeks ago specifically saying it's a 1 through 5, that it's not going to be a K through 8. So we can throw out any concerns that Long Joe is going to be closed. It's not going to be closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Squalia.
Thank you. I have 3 questions. What is the approximate scope of the window replacement through the building? Is it the entire building for the windows?
That's what we're applying for, and I know, having worked there and been a student there for many years, that we have a combination of some of the original hardwood windows that were originally installed in 1934 with the addition in 1987 of aluminum-clad plexiglass type style windows. So the scope of the project is 100% replacement that's what we're applying for.
And what's the approximate value of that grant that we'll be applying for?
It will be based on the interpretation of the engineers. If we were allowed to participate in the accelerated repair, the engineers would do their studies, and then they would set the budget.
So we don't
I don't have any preliminary, I don't have the expertise to, I don't know if it's going to be 3 condensing boilers like we put in at South Street, or if it would be 5 or 6 to cover that square footage. And the same thing with the windows. I'm sure there's lots of factors that will go into the replacement cost to put in new windows in that building, considering its location and necessary scaffolding if possible and things to that effect, which are not in my wheelhouse.
Okay, and finally, in your experience, what would you say the timeline would be from applying, assuming we get approved, to construction and, finishing the project?
It's typically a full year before the project, if approved, would be started. I know that last year, because of the pandemic, the accelerated repair was put on hold, so I don't know if there's a backlog at this point, but I'm hoping that we would be able to be accepted into the program, have the engineering done over the next year, and then have the construction start the following.
So approximately
Summer.
3 years?
Typically, it's a full year, and then the summer, this type of project would take place during the summer, so I'm hoping the potential for next summer.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Di Natale, did you have an additional comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't lower my hand. Nope, I'm
No,
all
that's
set.
all right. Just checking. Any further questions or comments? The matter is before the council.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve 10521. If there is no objection, we will take this under unanimous consent. Seeing no objection, motion passes.
Thank you.
Next, we have petitions. I'm going to first identify 10821 because we need a motion to amend so that it states an entire or complete release of the easement at the request of Commissioner Bossinetto.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second to amend 10821 from a partial to a total release of the easement. If there is no objection, we'll take this under unanimous consent. Seeing none, motion passes. And then 106 through 10921 stand referred to their respective committees. Councilor Green?
On petition 106 and 107, can we also, I'd like our legal department to look at both of those as well.
I believe that's already being done, but if not, I would be happy to forward that along.
Thank you.
Before we begin any announcements, I understand the mayor would like to make a brief statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of our city, I'd like to personally thank my staff, specifically Joan David, the Board of Health, and DPW for coordinating 3 very successful 2021 City Ward cleanups. I'm happy to report that more than 125 volunteers came out to support our cleanup efforts. Overall, we collected 250 tires, 150 TVs, and 12 tons of trash. None of this would have happened without our remarkable volunteers contributing so much of their time, energy, and determination. I want to thank those city councilors that came out to work and give praise to the teams from Boys and Girls Club, Cub Scout Pack 17, Fitchburg High School students, the Highlands IC Credit Union, Keep Fitchburg Beautiful, Redemption Community Church, and Restoration Recovery. And a special thank you to the Salvation Army for providing our volunteers with breakfast and lunch at all 3 cleanups. Thank you all for your exceptional volunteer work. You did an incredible job, and it was very much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you all.
And I will second those thanks.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Just a moment. Is it on that subject?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to the mayor. It was a pleasure working side by side, 2 grumpy old men working together. It was a pleasure.
It's a good thing your wife was with you, you know that?
I'd also like to briefly note that by our next meeting, the recently announced change in guidelines from the governor will be in effect. So at that point, I will encourage everyone to continue using their own judgment as to whether they wish to wear a mask. But by that point, the state guidance will be that it will not be necessary any longer for vaccinated persons. And further, I will note that I will be keeping an eye on the guidance as it evolves, but assuming nothing changes, The current statement is that as of June 15th, the state of emergency will expire, which means our authorization for remote participation will also expire. So I just want to let the council know ahead of time and the public know that that will be the case, assuming no changes come down from the state between now and then. Councilor Squalia, you had a...
Yes, on that note, will the council chambers be open to the public starting after May 29th?
After May 29th, I'm not sure yet. I have to look more carefully into the details of the revised guidance. After June 15th, assuming nothing changes, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be. But that I will send out an update as soon as I have had a chance to review that issue.
Thank you.
And that concludes our business for the evening.
Move to adjourn.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. If there is no objection, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.